Hey everybody, thank you yet again for listening to another episode of Ordinary People Extraordinary Stories. We have a brand new subscriber by my man, Richie. Thank you very much, Richie. I appreciate your support. We also want to go ahead and thank Courtney as well as Tamsin and Aiden. Give you guys all a shout out for supporting the channel. If you guys are interested in also supporting the channel, feel free to click the link below in the description to our Patreon, where you will have access to additional episodes, extra episodes, and extra bits from the show that we don't put on our Spotify and our YouTube channels. Now, with that being said, I'm going to start talking, and you're going to start listening to the next episode. Here we go. Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of Ordinary People Extraordinary Stories. Now, I just want to get right into this intro. What can I say about this man that I haven't already gushed and talked about? I mean, today's guest is a gentleman by the name of Jonathan Navi. He is the creator of Wake Up and Smell the Miracles podcast and founder of the Leading Man Initiative. This guy has been so many things to me. Just get personal. This year has been very rough for my wife and I. We've had deaths, insane battles in our marriage and our lives, and this man has been there for the worst times. He holds a men's group online every Tuesday, and I have to say this has literally been my saving grace through this rocking period. I mean, I was reminded how strong, capable I am, most importantly, how beautiful a soul I am by just being me. I hope you can get some love and wisdom in this episode, and if you're ever interested in the group, feel free to email. Know where it is. Well, it's literally always there at the end of every episode. So, that being said, let's get all zenned out, grab our miracle mug, and Avengers Assemble! For another ordinary person with extraordinary story. And just thanks for jumping on with me, man, with this. Like, obviously, duh, that we're doing an episode, but like, I think even just kind of prepping just to do this show, it's not, I was just kind of like, nothing with you, just the weather was shitty. I stayed inside all day, and I was just like, I don't have any gas. And then you came on, and we started talking, and just like, I'm all perked up, dude. I'm all Percocet it up, you know? I think that's what the
Amenies.
kids say. Oh man, so I don't know, how was your day? I was gonna check in with you. Like, how have you been?
Good. The government gives me a day off for Cesar Chavez Day, so big applause for that. And then
What
they allow me to
was that
make up the
today?
time. That was Monday.
Ah, we didn't get Caesar Chavez Day. That's bullshit.
I'm
Because we
so
always get
sorry.
like all kinds of federal holidays off, and I want to celebrate Mr. Chavez. He
Yeah.
deserves it.
So it's nice to have a day off and then make it up by doing 410s, which is a thing I hear is more prevalent and understanding in the world. It means you're working 4 10-hour days when that week is cut short.
Have you ever done
Uh,
that before?
yeah. Yeah, I did it right when I started the job in this mid-December. There's this holiday called Christmas and a holiday called New Year's,
Really?
and those weeks were back to back. And I
Oh,
was still
okay.
in training, I was still learning, so I thought it was a great opportunity to immerse myself in the thing that I needed to become better at.
Hmm.
And I did, and I wouldn't do it 2 weeks in a row because I definitely got a rundown afterwards. So now this like once a month we get 410s. I'm okay with it.
Because I used to do 410s, and I think people were slightly talking about them looking into potentially making that the new 40 instead of the
Mhm.
9 to 5, the 5/8. Because I mean, just having that third day, it's a game changer.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know if you feel the same way, but I always feel like with just 2 days, I don't get something done. I'm gonna disappoint somebody. Dishes aren't gonna get done. I'm not going to church, or like I'm putting something off because the first
Sure.
day I'm like sleeping until noon
Yeah,
and watching
that's the dream.
4 hours of movies or something, or just I don't know.
Rebooting yourself, like you're
Yeah.
restoring yourself. And when you work like a person that goes to a 9 to 5 job, Monday through Friday, we literally have to find healthy coping mechanisms and get creative on when we take that day off so that we can get that 3 days.
Exactly.
So for me, it's an adventure of figuring out how to have the lifestyle life that I envision, along with this very grounded, much needed paycheck.
And I think, well, the moment you got it figured out, let me know. Or I don't know. I think you're teaching me quite a bit about the kind of mindset and mentality, which I think I don't know. That's the thing I need to work on. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about, hi everybody, it's another ordinary personal extraordinary stories. I couldn't segue that. I'm sorry. I'm Tristan, your host, and this is my very good friend Navi. I actually don't know if I know your last name. I just know you as Navi.
My name is Jonathan Navi. Pleased to
Jonathan
meet you.
Navi. Okay, all right, that's right. I'm sorry, people. I've just been calling the man Navi so much, like it's short, like for navigation, because the man leads well, or he won't lead you astray, just like a navigation system. So thanks for coming, Navi. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
No, I guess I don't know. A little background on Navi is he's one of the first people, or one of the few people that I met as a friend from a friend. You're my REO Speedwagon song. You get that reference?
I do not.
You heard it from a friend who heard it from a
Okay. Yeah, I
friend
didn't know that was
who
the band. I've heard that
heard
a lot.
that guy that was a friend of Thayer's, or but basically, I had this guy. Britt was throwing a Christmas party, like a kind of white elephant gift party. We opened it up to like anybody on Facebook, kind of like an open event. Hey, you want to come by? We're here. And these random people showed up at our house, and no idea who they were. Got a chance to talk to know them. It's Thayer and Dana. Shout out, love you guys. Found out they were having a baby, and I got to have like a little one-on-one with them at our party. And I mean, you guys know how much I like to talk to a person, and they were just so friendly and loving and warm. And I got to know Thayer a bit longer, and he said, "You need to meet somebody. You need to talk to this guy because I think he's going to change your life, or he's going to change your life for the better." And I will say, you've definitely you made me realize like the light and the strength that I have. Like I don't diminish myself as much anymore because of the conversations we had. So let's just say the guy's cool, and I haven't ever technically met him in person. So that's nappy. But yeah, brother. I mean, I don't know. I guess I wouldn't mind hearing what was your first impression of me, or maybe the audience can get an understanding of if you met the real me, or so to speak.
Well, first I want to say that I hadn't heard that version of the introduction, and I don't know if you were embellishing or not. But man, is that a high stool to reach? And I'm just humbled and grateful that we're able to have these conversations where we literally edify each other because I have a keen eye for seeing the freaking potential that's just bubbling there. It's not deep within you. It is literally on the surface, and sometimes it just needs to be pointed out over and over and over. And when you dropped into our weekly call, that is the energy that I got. Honestly, it was scattered and felt like
A
you
little
needed
bit.
something that you didn't know that you needed. And I don't want to sound trite, but that's like the thing that we offer, which is not a product or service. At the end of the day, we have the ability to do this by the way we show up, and that's love, seeing somebody for who they are, dropping our walls and our masks, and truly like being like, this Tristan guy is super cool. I can't wait to learn more about him. And the more that I got to learn about you, the more I felt your depth, even though it was conversations on the phone, thousands of miles away.
Yeah.
I saw your heart. You shared your truth. So there's no way that I could just sit back and think that this is just some acquaintance. In my opinion, based on the things that we've experienced, the stuff that we've shared, you are definitely a friend. And as the kids used to say, a ride or die friend. I got you, and I
Hey.
hope you know that. And I know that you're there for me if I ever need it.
Oh, likewise. And a little sidebar. I was gonna tell you this off the call, but my sister's getting married in October, so I will be in Sacramento in
Oh,
October. So someone's gonna finna get met at and have dinner with and embraced really tenderly and aggressively.
funny story. I want to see you, whether it's Portland or Sacramento or Arizona, where I happen to be a licensed officiant. So I have the ability to have the ceremony and legally marry people there, which is also so. Arizona is this place, the state, Phoenix, particularly, where my family and I are looking to move to eventually, and we'll see where we're at in October,
Mm.
which is a very wonderful month to get married in.
Are
So
are you
either
not
way,
gonna be
life is
there?
changing and elevating to the point where we'll be able to visit each other.
I
Like
yeah, and we
Thayer's having a
will.
baby. I think
Yeah.
I'll be going up to
uh,
Portland and probably be seeing you and your wife with my wife.
I'm gonna save. There's this restaurant called. Oh, I can't remember what it is, but it's essentially on this giant building, very high up in the sky, and it gives you a beautiful view of Portland. And it you're definitely paying for the view and the drinks. It's easily kind of triple dollar kind of place, but it is worth it. And it is classy, and it's the kind of place where you want to wear something nice
Mm.
and just have a nice steak and I don't know, just have some good company. And I think it'd be really cool if we could do that.
That sounds straight out of a movie. I love it.
There you go, brother. And also, I do not think I made that stool incredibly high. Just for all the beautiful stuff you just said though, man. Like, hey, I'm just vibing. I'm reciprocating and I I appreciate you reciprocating too.
It's really cool to find people that you can vibe with. I
Hell
don't know
yeah.
about you, but I've experienced a lot of loneliness on my journey, on my path, finding really cool people all over the country and being like, when are we actually going to meet in person? But the
Amen.
times they are changing, and I definitely feel more physical cultivation of these communities that we've been building for years.
It's and that's the thing, man. It's so cool that we're planting these seeds from miles, thousands of miles away, and it's man, oh, you know what? Okay. I think this is a good little segue to our first question. I'm really curious at your background. So, the only thing I really know about Navi, besides him being in Sacramento now, is that him and Thayer grew up in Santa Barbara, correct?
No, he
Oh,
did.
oh, okay. My bad. Then I'll
Yeah.
just maybe you can start. How does Navi begin?
Well, before the universe was even formed, there was a council putting all what we're experiencing now together. Um, cut to Santa Cruz, California, 1987, October 1st, 4:40 a.m. And
Okay.
man, that is a lot of PAI I just released to your listeners.
No, thank you. I'm like, if I went as a time machine, that's where they're gonna go at that exact time.
Mm-hmm.
But
Start doing my birth chart, getting all my secrets
n-
astrologically.
1987 or 89, you said? 87?
87.
There you go. Hell yeah.
Not that one show about the academy where all these gifted people were born on October 1st, 1989.
Is that a school one with Ellen Page or Elliot Page?
Yeah,
No.
both of those are correct.
Umbrella Academy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
what it's
it.
called.
Okay. I had no idea. I've never seen it. But
That's
any
funny.
sidebar. You're born on
Yes.
1987, that year.
Yes. Mm. Yeah, harmonic convergence happened earlier that year. A lot of cosmic stuff. Anyway, back to grounding the story. My parents immigrated here from El Salvador, and I was the
Okay.
first born here in my bloodline. And that was an interesting experience. I recently, like, I knew that Spanish was my first language, but I didn't know that I had to attend school for 4 years to master Spanish before they would start teaching me English.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Damn.
And I remember being in first grade, being taken out of class and like having these tests, and they were just flashcards. What is this thing? And I remember there was one flashcard that I swore because I got it wrong. I said airplane when it wasn't an airplane. It's like I'll never forget what that thing is. It was a helicopter.
Okay. That's close.
um,
That's close. I'd give it. I like where your mind is, little one. I like that is bullshit. I'd be really mad.
yeah, and I Back to the Future, the trilogy was my favorite as a kid. Like, can't even count how many times I watched it. I was actually in Oregon one time and did a sober drunk history telling of Back to the Future. I was sober, but I sounded like I was drunk, retelling the whole thing.
Okay.
But the reason I say that is because it helped me learn English. Like, I remember reading the captions, like the word future at the beginning of Back to the Future Part 2, where he's in 2015. And like it
The
said
great
future, and I would
future.
read it in Spanish. In Spanish, phonetically, it would be future. And then my brain started to do a thing with like a lot of words because because, like flip it, and I'd be able to speak it in English. And
Interesting.
most Spanish speaking people that's their first language, they think in Spanish. And then they
Mm.
have to translate it into English. For some reason, I think in English. I can still speak fluent Spanish, but it takes a minute and I will forget a lot of words
Mm.
sometimes. But other
Interesting.
times I'm in flow and I'm just da 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 da.
And that's okay. I love that because I also, dude, Back to the Future is such a comfy movie. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've had the soundtrack. Love me some Huey Lewis in the News and
Mm-hmm.
Back in Time. Bam, bam, but
Power of love, brother.
power of love, baby. That is the power of love. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's what that. I mean, that's okay. So the nerd seeds were planted in you for
Oh
like
yeah.
a long time. It helped you learn English, which is a badass way to learn English. I don't know. Move aside, Dora. We got Back to the Future here, but okay. So you started learning. Then when was the like the I guess the transfer? How did it go into now you're in English speaking classes? Like, was that difficult? Were the kids shitty?
Not at all. I when I went to college in Hollywood, American Musical Dramatic Academy, and
Ah.
I had a teacher who got an Oscar for the movie The Birds back in the 80s. And
Okay.
after we graduated, he was allowed to party with us. And at that last party that we had, he said something very interesting to me about Santa Cruz. He said it's one of the
Mm.
last hippie towns in America. So, a story I love telling is that in Santa Cruz, we had every type of shade of person.
Mm.
And we had no clue what racism was until they taught it in school. We literally had to learn that there have been atrocious things happening in the country, for not just the country but the world, and then perhaps things shift. But I personally don't think I had any negative experiences. I think I was just very unaware of a lot of things back then
Mm.
growing up,
Right.
because my culture was Salvadorian in an American country. So at home, they're watching Spanish television and telenovelas and late night fun shows. But at school, they're talking about what was hot, the Nickelodeon, Pete and Pete, or
Yeah.
Rocco's Modern Life, like Ren and Stimpy.
Rocco's Modern Life.
So
Yeah.
I was inoculated in American culture in the 90s.
At the
Like,
best
that was
time.
my education.
Hell yeah.
And at some point, like I can't even think that like I was a Spanish speaker and a English, like it just felt like a natural progression. I don't know if that was the town or some of my memories are missing. And that was K through 6, which was a predominantly lower income type, and also more, what's the word, minorities. And we were
Okay.
called minorities back then.
Like, was it predominantly black, predominantly Mexican, a good mix of
Mexican,
everybody?
mostly Mexican, white, black.
Okay.
Yeah, Asian would have been the rare, like not many of them where I grew up. And then so it was that. For some reason, my mom had this drive to send me to a different school when I went to junior high and high school. One of them is that my
Mm.
cousin and my sister both went to Santa Cruz High. And my sister, when she immigrated here, who's 4 to 5 years younger than me, depending on the time of the year,
Right.
I was basically a single child up until the age of 7. And
Wow.
then I met my sister, and she then came to the United States when she was 10.
Mm.
So I had this hybrid, like I'm an only child, and then I also had now I'm not an only child, and I have a sibling, an older sibling.
An older sibling. Which makes me think, why did you, I mean, not to be, why did you go first? Oh, because you were born there.
I
Duh.
was born here. Yeah.
They're, okay. I, that is, I don't know, just because it makes me think, like, how did your even family cope? Because, I mean, like, not having a child for 6, 7 years, that's insane. That's
It's
crazy.
the blessing of a large family, where my mom was able to safely leave my sister with her brother and his wife, my aunt, who's also my dad's sister.
Yeah,
So
okay.
there's a lot of like cohesive and taking care of each other, which is still a beautiful thing in the Hispanic culture. And I'm
Heck
sure
yeah.
very many other cultures. And so me and my sister, who I'm talking about,
Mm.
we're my mom and dad's two kids. My mom's only two kids. My dad has four other kids
Mm.
from being married and having a wife. And I am the youngest of all six.
Oh, you're the baby. Okay. Interesting. So I'm kind of curious. So you get this older sister. Does she already know English, or she had to learn too?
She had to learn. She was
Okay.
put in different classes and she adapted very quickly.
I'm just kind of laughing more, just like you're just like, okay, this is Rocco's modern life. It's muy bueno. I don't know if that was you speak Spanish, right? Like Salvadorian, is that like
Yeah,
is
it's
that
Spanish.
okay, thank you. I'm
Yeah.
a ignorant gringo, but
Yeah. I have this unconscious ability to tap into any dialect within the
mm,
Hispanic community. If I'm around them, it just starts to come out Puerto Rican or Cuban or Spanish. This is from Spain. Mexican versus Salvadorian. Like there's just something in me that has the ability to do that, and I have to work on not changing my accent because it happens unconsciously.
that's but I kind of get it because you just vibe so well, you just end up naturally like picking it up though, and that's
It's a cadence.
hilarious.
Yeah, it's all
Okay.
music, really.
I Let's go back to the childhood. So you just get a sister. You grow up in the 90s, super rad. I'm already happy. I'm very happy about the story. And now you're in Santa Cruz at a different middle school. I mean, was it kind of very hippie like growing up or
Ooh, that's a tough one because I honestly feel like we were just a cliche of whatever was happening in the 90s.
mm,
If I'd have to really reflect on that time, which I'm just probably not going to do right now, to think like how hippie was it? Because the thing is that it was just open and there wasn't really these divisions. At least I didn't have privy to them. I know that there was gangs and there was bad stuff, and I grew up in a small white town, and I didn't know the
mm,
beauty of that until much later in my life. The middle
shit.
school that I went to, I got to meet, like, it was predominantly white. There was definitely more people of color, but it was like the rich, not the rich white, but like it was, yeah,
Middle or lower class? Like,
say middle to higher,
okay, all right, just kind of the burbs, kind of like, just the suburby
definitely.
kids. I
Oh yeah,
gotcha. Okay. Interesting. I Well, the only reason I was asking though is just because can you explain this to me as far as like if Santa Cruz has always been like this, if it's changed, but like this is kind of like mysticism to it, where like I'm not even just talking about like the hippie aspect. Like I think I'm projecting too much. Have you ever seen The Lost Boys?
yeah, of course.
One of my favorite movies, favorite horror movies, most definitely. It's just like it's a hippie town, but there's gangs, but there's
Vampires.
vampires. And have you seen Us?
Yep.
Now you
Also
got
shot in Santa Cruz.
now you got mirror people, dude. It's just like what is going on with Oh, and then you have the mystery spot. That
Yeah.
weird freak of nature place, man. Like I don't know, man. The meteor crash, I mean, has it always been like that? Like or like you said
As
you couldn't realize it until you got older.
I think that it has to do with the individual, and that
Mm,
individual, when he's older, is more attuned to the mysticism of it.
interesting.
Santa Cruz is a great place to shoot. They also shot Bumblebee there, apparently.
Okay.
There's not as much as there could be, in my opinion, for the mysticism aspects. The mystery spot in itself has these weird magneticism, and it's just a fun tourist thing. Like people from all over the country have that bumper sticker.
Mm-hmm.
I recently learned, if we may talk about anything on this podcast, that the head of the MK Ultra projects for the CIA retired in Santa Cruz.
That bastard. I don't know. Probably because there's like a baby or a Bigfoot underneath the park or something weird, man. Oh, what a piece of shit. Because I've been going down a Krasinski, the Unabomber, like because I think he was an experiment or like a patient under that. Maybe I don't
I don't know.
just I don't know. That's so crazy, man. Wow, what a piece of crap.
Point
I
being, take the negativity away. It is what it is. You know, it's a beautiful town,
okay.
and I'm sure it has corrupted governments just like any other town in America, just like our entire system.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Therefore, I am imagining as somebody in the community with that much clout being able to influence the public education system and the working system. And
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in that, in these strange classes, and the thing where Big Broccoli would come in and give everybody fluoride, pink fluoride, a special occasion, special guest speaker, because fluoride was
What the
supposed to be good for our teeth.
Jesus?
Like I
Okay.
remember that. I don't have any negative experiences that I can remember, but I also have a lot of stuff that I can't remember.
Interesting. Okay. No, I'm also like getting sidetracked too, just because like I'm just I'm knowing more about you, and I'm like, wow, like it's you truly lived an interesting life. So okay, so we got
Ooh,
into
we're still
Santa
in middle
Cruz.
school.
Yeah, I know, and we're only in middle school. I'm gonna just let you keep going. How was middle school?
Sure. It was cool. I made some friends, and I got to start experiencing from an what felt. I made myself the outsider. That's what I know now. That's what it felt like. But
Hmm.
that's because I had no idea how to not be the outsider. Now I'm a master of being an insider. That's how we cultivate friendships that are brand new, take them from 0 to 60, just to find out if they're going to be worthwhile friendships.
Hmm.
So back then, I was chubby. I would wear these sweater vests and I would listen to Eminem because he came out when I was in 6th grade. And I would study his lyric books because he had the lyrics inside the little CD pockets, the little artwork. And I started learning rhyme schemes without even like knowing that I was doing that on purpose. The song Brain Damage was one of the first ones that I wrote out and started like cutting up like where it rhymes. These are the results of 1,000 electric bolts, and neck with bolts. So I don't remember all of it, thank God, right now. And I started to get into theater, and it was just a class, and we had these performances. This still boggles my mind because I thought I was shy,
Okay.
but when I look back at a lot of the things I've done in my life, especially in my youth, it doesn't. The evidence doesn't point to being shy.
Hmm.
In 8th grade, I did it. I like stepped up. I was like, yeah, I'll be in the talent show. And I did a medley of Eminem songs that I edited myself, like YouTube dog. I'm doing them loud as dogs. Like I was able to edit myself, and I got 3rd place, which again boggled my mind because somebody else did a song by Exhibit, did the Sea Walk. So I was like, that's got to be a winner.
Mm-hmm.
But I got 3rd place. That same year, we did something called Friday Night Live for our theater class, which is
Hmm.
basically taking skits from SNL.
Okay.
And I'm realizing as I'm telling you now, I'm always the guy that points something out. And I was like, hey, SNL has a musical guest in every episode. Do we need that? And then like teachers like, yeah, of course. And does anybody have any volunteers or suggestions? And for some reason, I was like, I'll I'll do it. My self image though was not that guy. That's what trips me out. Like
Hmm.
I felt like that I was the people out there, the cool group, the white people with more money, like the people. They're the people, not me. But the
Hmm.
song that I did was an unreleased Eminem song. Again, back when he was a Christian rapper for the album Infinite, and the song was called "It's Okay." And the chorus is it's a broke day, but everything is okay. And it has this little dialogue in it that like made it into a skit as well. And that was something that happened.
I'm processing this though because I'm thinking like, okay, where could this like, dude, if you're doing double Eminem songs like in front of live people, yeah, man, you're not you're, you're like the one of those like girls that are perfectly fine, but they say I'm too fat and like not no shut the fuck up. Like you're really not, but whatever. But I'm trying to think like, okay, so maybe there was this either that was maybe like your did maybe the family aspect as far as like maybe you felt like you had to be reserved, like you couldn't be prideful. I don't want to make it a race thing, but like maybe did it feel like just because like you were technically in the minority, like you felt like I want to be like the cool rich white kids because I guess that was the hip thing. Like I mean, I don't know. I think I'm just trying to maybe dissect how where this could have come from because or maybe it was in there the whole time.
Well, I remember a few things. My mom, when I was a kid, said I had a dream, and she told me about it. And I couldn't have been more than 4 years old.
Okay.
And she said, I saw you as an adult speaking or singing or performing in front of thousands of people in a stadium. I never forgot that. She ever I The next thing is that I remember being at a family friend's house and this Spanish show comes on and there's music in the background in my head. It's like nodding to the music. And then this adult's like, oh, look at him dancing. He's going to be a performer. I closed up and I was like, never again. But I don't think that lasted because obviously I ended up being a performer of sorts.
Hey, we're not done with our arc, man. It still happen, baby. Like, we keep that dream alive here.
Yeah.
But keep going.
Yeah. So, in regards to performing and having those like little things there, and what you said about race, I think that I have this thing like because I grew up in the culture, I didn't feel like I was the minority. I still have moments where I have to remember that
Hmm.
because I grew up listening to Eminem, who was a white rapper rapping about what he knew, which was being
Yeah.
white in America and fame and all that stuff. And my friends were all white. And I still get this to this day. People forget that I'm not white. And I don't know what that says about race or stature or energy, because as a kid, I had the strong belief that there is no separation between us because we're all on this planet together. We're all human beings. Race shouldn't be this thing that separates people. Like I truly am colorblind when it comes to that. And it's funny because there's a certain rappers that I've grown to like who are Christian rappers and like have this positive message who are very lyrically skilled. I was in the car with the kids and this gentleman named NF came on and I saw his picture for the first time and I was like, he's white. So so really like the heart and what we're bringing to the table, I feel is more important. And if there was a gift that Eminem brought to the table from my childhood, it is that like he kind of removed the race thing by bringing up the race thing.
I like that. Well, that might be the title of this episode. I haven't figured, but I'm gonna clip that for sure. That's a good one. That's good. Well, and it's funny you even mention because like, well, I don't know, because to kind of go back full circle, we're talking about how I don't know, like we didn't see it back in the 90s, and we didn't see it at certain times. Like it was there, but we just didn't talk about it. We weren't offended by it. It wasn't something to be concerned with.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I think it's a thin line to skate because I mean, first off, I 100% agree with you. Absolutely. Like I think we need to remember that we're more close and together than like I don't know, just more often. I think that's important to know that. But I'm not trying to preach white guilt, but just like I feel like silly some white people that can say this kind of have like the whole like when did you kind of I don't want to say go woke, but like drink the Kool-Aid a little bit. Like I don't know, my parents grew up like mildly Republican. I think the whole Trayvon Martin thing happened and like I watched some stupid conservative video where this guy's like this wasn't a kid. This wasn't a young man. This was a violent 18-year-old, probably getting drugs. And you know what? If he was, so who cares? Let the man do some drugs. And he got followed by someone and got killed. And I agreed with that guy. I was like, yeah, this 18-year-old boy is a killer and he's violent. And I don't know. I just know that that's, I don't know, maybe I'm being preachy, but I feel like certain people have to acknowledge that of saying, hey, I didn't realize that, like, I guess I have a, I'm sorry, I'm really trying to choose my words carefully because this is a very weird topic, but I guess not stereotypes, but you have like ideas, or like you're like, hey, like you said, people didn't realize you weren't white. I mean, because they were talking to you and it just became like you as a person. But like the fact that I guess even the white people thought about, oh man, they had an idea of what you were supposed to be. You know, like you're some, they probably said Mexican, just this Latino kid that was this way, and you proved them all wrong. Like, I think some people have to acknowledge that, hey, I had some growing to do. Maybe that's the lesson. Maybe I'm talking all of it now, and that's the lesson. I think some people have to wake up and realize they have some learning to do.
Oh, there's tons of people that need to wake the truck up. Like when I was in preschool and kindergarten, like I was like show and tell. My mom is visiting El Salvador for like 3 weeks in a row. And the teacher was like, Mexico, your mother is in Mexico.
That's what I'm talking about, man. That's exactly.
So that was in,
It's so funny.
that's the early 90s. That's
Okay.
like while I'm like in elementary school. That's the I'm not Mexican. I'm not Mexican. And it like yeah, John Leguizamo was one of my heroes as a kid because he was a Latino actor that looked white and was able to create from just being silly. And in his stand up, he talks about that a lot. It's like being a kid and having to say, like, no, I'm not Mexican. Like, I am not Mexican to the point where it became so frustrating that you stopped caring.
Exactly. It's I don't know, but yeah, that's like I guess I don't know what you want to call it. It's a thin freaking line between like, hey, we're all beautiful, wonderful human people, and then I don't know, we need to at least celebrate our differences, but also
Get
promote them. And
curious. Like,
I don't know,
honestly, it's as
it's
easy as getting curious because
yeah,
whatever happens on the world stage, it's being more and more known and shown as this whole Diddy thing just happened and more disclosures and
kind of want your mindset or your
sure.
thoughts on that. We'll keep going later, but like
Yeah,
we'll put a pin in that.
that's a heavy one. And I have a lot to say about that in a way that doesn't go into the rabbit hole because it really is just pointing back at what are we creating in our own lives? What are you creating? How are
Mm,
you leading? How are you treating people? Because it's very clear that there have been systems in place through the education system, through the Boy Scouts of America, through the church that allow monsters to thrive and prey, predate to take advantage of people.
yeah.
And the entertainment industry
Oh
has an
God.
agenda. Like there's so much evidence now that it's no longer a conspiracy theory. Diddy literally had hidden cameras in every single one of his rooms, in every single one of his mansions, so that he could blackmail politicians, writers, actors, sports figures, and be able to do whatever he wanted. Kanye, who is labeled as crazy and bipolar, has been trying to tell us, like, I'm surprised I'm still alive because we have these handlers as celebrities. And when we're going off the rails, when I'm talking about Trump instead of Biden, then they call Chappelle. They're like, get a hold of Ye, tell him that this is the narrative for the celebrities right now.
Oh my
This is
God.
the
Holy
political
shit.
agenda. Like it's out there. You can believe it or not. So let's have an exercise where let's just pretend that this is
Okay.
just fiction and not playing out on the world stage.
Okay.
So as we're pretending that this is actually happening in this fictional space, how would it not be happening on the micro level? If the world stage is macro, the micro level is who is going to take the place of those people that are going to be called out right now and exiled in whatever form or fashion that happens, whether it's
Exactly.
prison or whatever else may happen, and what has already happened. Like we literally are seeing the news that is being placed in front of us in about 90 to, I want to say 90 days, but the gap could be a lot shorter. Could be even like a week shorter of when it
Yeah.
actually happened. They want us to follow a narrative, and it's really hard not to. So, what narrative are we creating when we go out into the workplace, when we go out into the grocery store? Like, I
Mm.
literally know that I will suffocate and die and go crazy if I don't show up as the guy that fucking sparkles. Excuse me.
Mm.
Ooh,
No. We like swearing
sure.
here. Fuck, shitty, titty. But no, that's why I got you on here. 'Cause you're so fucking. I love how wordy you get. I love just your passion. And I agree, it's bullshit, man. Bro, and oh my God, the Nickelodeon show, Quiet on the Set.
Oh,
Have
right.
you,
That's another one. It's all coming
like,
out.
I
And
don't know.
here's the scary part that we were going to save for later is that I went to Hollywood when I was 17. I went wild. Access to alcohol because people would buy it for me. And I would go to parties and I would meet certain low level celebrities. And parties would happen and blackouts would happen. And I was fucking miserable. I
Mm,
I didn't know where fulfillment came from. I didn't have that level of education in my consciousness yet, which didn't
right.
happen until I turned 21 and got introduced to a company. But I suppose our story will get us there at some point. So I I have to be completely honest. Like I prayed to the devil, asking for that deal for my
Mm,
soul
interesting.
multiple times because I was miserable. I wanted things to change. I wanted the big break. But
You wanted the golden ticket.
yeah,
You wanted
and
your Faustian powers.
music is programming, and obviously I was obsessed with Eminem. And I just remember that lyric, like I sold my soul to the devil, and I'll never get it back, over and over and over. It's just sitting in there. So I wanted to see what that was like, so that I could do good in whatever idea that was back then for me. Because I've changed. I'm a different person. Where like if I would have been offered a Diddy party, I would have probably gone. I had no safety net, no spiritual safety net, except what actually kept me from blowing up, from making those
Mm,
deals by getting in the rooms that where those deals were happening with
right.
people that I knew, people that were close, ended up taking those deals, which is fine. But I just feel so grateful that I I was protected and veered somewhere else. It wasn't a disappointment when I had to leave Hollywood. I mean, obviously it was at that time, but really I was changing and evolving. A month after I left Hollywood, I was introduced to a direct sales company that stressed personal development. And that was the first time I
Mm,
learned that you have control over how you show up in the world. Your character is cultivated. So there's a lot of connections because as an actor, we have to do homework like for
mm,
anything. Like, what is the backstory? Like, we ins and out psychologically embody another human being. Yeah, you can show
exactly.
up and channel, but when you're a kid that knows nothing about life, you have to do the work. And as an adult, you still have to do the work. Don't be lazy.
Absolutely. Fucking Daniel Day-Lewis do it. Fucking get off your ass. Maybe not that extreme, but
Yeah.
so you were just fucking bred for the stage, man. Singing Eminem,
Whoa.
doing dancing and whatnot, and then sorry, let me rephrase that. Not like in a Dan Schneider kind of way, just like you.
Uh,
you so tell me about this personal development thing. So it was like, was it? Yeah, how did you even get into that?
let me go back a little bit
Okay,
because we didn't even get to high
okay.
school.
I know, man. I'm sorry. I
Um,
told I have to wrangle you. You got to wrangle me.
another thing about not being shy, but thinking I was shy was that so between 14 and 15, I lost 70 pounds. I was 200 pounds at 14, and at 15, I was 130 pounds. I did it through strict exercise and barely eating, not in a healthy way. I don't recommend it. I have a different view on health these days, and I have for a long time. And that I think gave me the confidence because one of the first shows that I saw as a freshman when I was still chubby was Fame. And that show touched me so much that I remember the moment in that auditorium saying, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. Like I
Okay.
felt so much from that story and the way that it was delivered as a high school play. So the next year, sophomore, I auditioned for my first
I
musical.
Could I so I don't even think I know about Fame. You mind like elaborating a little bit about it?
You got to check it out. I'm gonna live forever. I'm never gonna die. Only thing I fear is I'm never gonna fly. That's a DMX lyric where he was sampling the musical Fame. I'm gonna
Wow.
live forever. I'm gonna learn how to fly. It's a very famous song. But it's about
Okay.
kids that go to school to become performers, and life happens and shit gets crazy. And there's like very emotional scene that got me that I was like, holy crap, yeah, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. I want to
Heck
make
yeah.
people feel the way that I felt in that moment. So sophomore year, I auditioned for West Side Story. All white cast, maybe two Latinos. We get cast as the Sharks. And I get one speaking line, which is the racial slur WAP. And
You sold the hell out of that slur.
one of the nights that we performed, the lead guy, the white guy playing Bernardo, cuts me off before I get to say my one line. Wah, wah, wah.
Bruh.
Love telling that story. But I was still
I would have called
chubby.
him a wop.
No.
I would call him a dago, guinea. I just don't know. But keep going. Sorry, was that too many slurs?
Yeah.
Keep going, keep going.
So then I auditioned when I lost all that weight for a show called The Chorus Line, which is another show programming about performers and the industry. And there's tons of songs in there that Family Guy uses all the time, and also just like some that they don't. That's like still have my heart.
It's a song like God, I hope I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I get how many boys, how many Land of the Lost is the only way I know that song.
Nice.
But man, okay. I that sucks because like you just okay, so did you have a play where you got to kind of show your skills, show your
My
scales?
senior
Just like
year was my high school movie year where I had
okay.
friends. I got to have those high school adventures and romances. My prom was on a yacht over the San Francisco Bay for some reason. I We also did a competition, an acting competition, where we went up north with all these other schools, and I performed. There was a scene, and we placed. We got like honorable mention, or we actually placed, which was cool. And the director, like this is all like student governed. Like our theater teacher was out because she had a baby. They literally gave us the key to the schools. One school
Okay.
opened all the
What?
schools in the district. This was my level of senior high school awesomeness. Something that happened there was that competition. Like I got recognized for being a good actor.
Okay.
I had speaking lines in our show, Little Shop of Horrors. We challenged this other school in our district to a dance off. They were doing
Ooh.
Grease. We were doing Little Shop of Horrors. We go to Denny's after our shows, as theater people do, and
It's yeah, we do. Okay.
so we jokingly, because we were having a prank war, because we were just let's do life to the fullest. We challenged the director of that play, which was also a student, to a dance off at Denny's after our respective shows. They show up
Hmm.
in greaser outfits with a gigantic cast dancing on top of cars. The cops are called, and we tell them this is not a gang street fight, it's just a dance off. They give us permission to do it the next week at a two-story
Okay.
parking garage downtown. No cops, no nothing. Just do your thing. Just can't do it outside this residential area. So for
Yeah.
a week, we're training. We're like doing these dance moves to NSYNC. It's all caught on video, um, and that was really really fun as well. More
Do you
performance.
still have the video
Yeah, yeah.
anywhere?
We have
Like,
a I have a three part DVD of high school
oh,
adventures.
dude, I want to see that. Like, that's pretty freaking rad. Okay.
Another aspect is that they were doing modeling calls when I was like maybe 12 or 13 for kids. Weird. I remember
Well,
going, like my mom was always very supportive, and she took me, and my teeth were still growing and all fucked up in my opinion. I was chubby, I probably was developing acne. So I go to this thing though. I still go. And this lady looks at me, smiles, and writes 110. Listeners, remember this. 110
okay.
is a code for no, because between the one and the one, you can write a diagonal. I, like, for some reason, was able to pick apart that code. Like I knew what she was doing when she wrote that. And I had that like in me. So then senior year, figuring out where to go to college, I decided to, I don't know how I found AMDA, the American Musical Dramatic Academy, but I did, went to San Francisco for an audition, then had to go to LA for the second audition, and I got in. And something I remember very distinctly before they let me in was the director of the school say, like on the phone with me, it's like we want to accept you, but you have to agree to the rigorous training that you're going to go through. Like it was a like it's gonna get like intense.
Yeah.
And it did. But like I remember like, oh, how bad could it be? I was like, yeah. And there
Just a bunch of theater kids.
There was my where I'm going to college. You know, I didn't apply anywhere else. And then I landed in Hollywood and had those adventures, which we can bypass and get back to that 21-year-old drinking a lot.
Just doing cocaine with not Motley Crue is done by this point. Is it like late 90s or?
Oh, in Hollywood? That was 2005 to 2008.
Oh shit! Yeah, I know what we're listening to. We're listening to, I think that's the start of. I don't know. That was the 2010s. I guess it would have been Kanye. Yeezy was out there. He was on the radio. He was getting played, but also it was like Metro Station, kind of the start of emo. Yeah, that's who you're doing blow with. The lead singer of My Chemical Romance.
That's hilarious.
Neat. There you go. So. And it's funny, man. I didn't even know you were a theater kid. I was one too, and I I don't know. It's funny. It really is always Denny's. Always going to Denny's late at night, right after the show, to get milkshakes and like, oh, he did so good.
Makeup
Just this,
on.
that, and the other. Yeah, and that's so freaking hilarious that the cops like, no, this, we're having a street brawl, but it's not like not the balls and chains. It's like the Michael Jackson beat it kind.
Yeah.
We're very jazzy. I'm like, okay, all right, you little you little weirdo. So okay, now I think we've gotten to the point where you've done Hollywood, you've messed around.
I found out.
When did Hollywood say no? And then when did you get into the personal developing? Like when did that happen?
So Hollywood never said no. Hollywood said yes, please come on in. I was recognized for being on a show called Numbers, which was CBS's #1 hit at the time. And as you're an actor who's non-union in Los Angeles, you're doing all these bit parts or extra work in the hopes of getting these vouchers. I think that when you get 3 vouchers, you qualify for SAG. I could be wrong.
Oh, okay.
I've been out of that game for a long time. There is a shortcut. If they like you enough, like they wanted me on the show Numbers and I was non-union, they weren't allowed to hire anybody non-union. They do something called Taft-Hartley. And it is basically this shortcut where you get to be SAG right away. But you get this Taft-Hartley thing and you're allowed to be on the show. But after that, you have to decide whether to be in SAG or not, because it is like a golden ticket. So I did that, and then I got in a car accident, and that gave me the limiting belief that I can't go around auditioning and going to this stuff I was getting hired for. And I ended up getting a job at the famous movie theater at the Dome, the Cinerama? ArcLight movie theater, which I don't think is there anymore. I think they were bought out, but very like where they had the big movie premieres. And I met a lot of interesting characters, and I learned a lot about that particular company, which is interesting to look back on.
What's the company called again?
ArcLight Cinemas.
ArcLight Cinemas. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, keep
They're
going.
like the innovators of assigned seating and having a host at the beginning being like, welcome to the show. And that was my dream when I worked there. I was like, yeah, I'm going to be that guy with the walkie, goes on stage with a microphone.
Yeah. Just getting shit done. Be like, okay, we need to get there and there.
No,
we got to see.
It was Welcome to Iron Man, starring Robert Downey Jr. This movie's 120 minutes, and make sure to stick through the end credits because there might be something there for you. My name is Jonathan Navi, and it's been a pleasure. Blah, 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 blah.
It's been a pleasure, Mr. Me too, Mr. Navi. I will enjoy this Iron Man.
Yeah. I was
Okay,
there when
all right.
Iron Man came out. That was magical.
And they see the audience says a no, but like I know that did you know at the time when you watched, you're like, this is gonna be big, or did you have like no
No, I
idea?
still wasn't into personal development or awoken to my gifts to the degree that I am
Okay.
now.
And we'll get into that in a second, folks, but please continue.
So I worked there for about maybe 9 months. Then I quit because I'm like, I'm better than this. Life, come on. And then life was not that great. So I was like,
Damn.
hey, I know I just quit,
RIP.
but will you hire me again, please? And they did.
Please, 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 please.
And they loved me. Like I've always been like the golden child, even before I was awoken for some reason. No, I don't want to get into that. Something just came to mind. And
Are you sure?
yeah, I want to land this story real quick.
Okay, okay.
So me and my friends used to do these midnight movies when they were released on Thursday night at midnight for the new releases.
Okay.
One time I get off shift, I decide to go watch the movie Bolt about a little dog named Bolt who's an actor. And I have my vodka, like I always have my vodka, and I put it in my free drink cup, and it spills. And somebody that I work with ratted me out, and like I like knew the secret tunnels and hiding places, so like I escaped. But then like the manager like was like, hey, we need to talk, and then I got suspended for 2 weeks before Christmas. Then I got
Mm,
fired on Christmas. Not a sob story. And
Merry
then I
Christmas.
ended up having to move back home, and I didn't move back
Mm,
home. I moved to my sister's place in Hollister,
okay.
and I was just a drunken mess that I had to leave that after a month. Then I moved back home, and that month, a friend of mine, my roommate from college, gave me a call, and I was just feeling shitty about myself and just kind of questioning everything, broke and all that rock bottom goodness.
It's
And
hard.
he's like, jump on this private conference call. This guy is going to be on there. He's a big deal, and I think it's going to be good for us. Very vague,
Mm,
but I'm so grateful that I was open to that because that introduced me to a network marketing company that changed my life and introduced me to some of the best human beings that are still in my life.
okay.
And that
Which, how old were you at this time? Like, what year
21,
was this?
2009. Mm-hmm.
Okay. You must have been like a baby though. You said 21 when this happened?
Yeah,
Okay, so this is wow. That's and out man, dude, that's rough. Like especially going from like I don't know, when I got kicked out, not necessarily kicked out, when I was suspended from college, I felt like I was kind of like putting a pause on my destiny. Did it feel like that when that they let you go, or was that new job the thing that immediately saved you from that?
um, hmm. Yeah, nobody let me go except the people that fired me when I didn't like anyway. And it was that choice where like I have to leave Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And yeah, that
Was
definitely
that hard?
that I think that played with that an effect on me drinking as much as I did. I was so
Hmm.
unaware of what was actually going on within me. I wasn't tapped in, tuned in, but I was very turned on to drink as much as possible. And
Where do you think that came from?
the drinking,
Yeah.
um,
I'm sorry if
avoidance.
I'm asking a lot of questions, but I'm kind of just like I'm trying to essentially put myself in your
Sure.
shoes because like I just my heart empathizes with you. Like that sucks because like you were in the place and hearing your entire backstory, you want to be the man on the stage. You want to have the spotlight. And I don't know, I felt like when I got kicked out of school that the spotlight was going to be off for a while, or I was going to have to humble myself. Again, maybe I'm just projecting a lot, but I mean, yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I guess back to the drinking. I mean, I guess when did the drinking start?
High school.
That okay.
So
Dang,
my
that
first
early.
cast party, I think, was sophomore year. Yeah, that was West Side Story. And I remember having a beer can and drinking a little bit, not getting drunk, not liking it, nothing memorable, except people talking about how they saw me drinking and talking to a dog, seemingly probably more fun or drunk. So a self-image thing and combination started to happen. And by my senior year, like we were stealing alcohol from Safeway. We got caught
Oh, you.
stealing chicken wings, but
uh,
we had an abundance of alcohol. And I remember a friend telling me, like he was the supplier, but he was like, I'm worried about you. You just could turn into something else in the
mm,
future. I was like, whatever. You know, we're
damn.
just having fun, listening to hip hop music, running around town, being wild and
Don't kill my
crazy,
vibe,
drinking
dog. Come on.
Baileys, like whatever, I'll be fine. When I went to college, it was just this culture, this constant drinking.
Constant partying.
Yeah,
Just,
yeah. And then the personality change, the blackouts. I loved the personality change and the feelings and the avoidance so much more than the consequences of the blackouts. The blackouts started getting really
mm,
bad when it didn't seem like I was drunk at all. I don't remember what happened, but somebody was in there
yeah.
saying some fucked up shit, doing some fucked up shit.
And you took care of business?
By take care of business, what do you mean?
Well, I guess we don't have to explore. I just meant more just like you blacked out, something happened. I guess I'm asking, did people get hurt? Or were you like extra nasty?
A
Or
little bit of everything. It was unpredictable. I think that there are
mm,
5 very negative characters in the chamber, which
okay.
my theory is programming. Like I listened to so much music with character in it back then and watched so many movies like obsessively. Like when I was a kid, we used to go to the drive-in movie. I would take my cassette recorder and record the entire movie. Then at school, I would listen
Okay.
to the movie.
That's actually pretty badass. That's like you little pirate or
And
you. I love
and,
it.
and then we got into the generation of dudes like us being able to quote basically any Apatow movie or Will Ferrell movie. Like that's where
Exactly.
we grew up. So I was literally listening and prepping and didn't know I was programming myself in some ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm just again I'm building you up piece by piece. I'm like that's interesting. Or I'm like I'm trying to like figure out maybe that might be why that happened. And it sucks that there was all that insecurity. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's why I party too. I saw Animal House and I'm like Bluto looks cool.
Right.
You know, that boy can party. I can do that and I can't do that.
I definitely
I'm
tried the
not.
John Belushi chugging a bottle of whiskey and failed,
Oh,
luckily.
Jesus. Did he throw up or like
I was a champ by
I'm a
that point. I
I'm a
don't
puker.
like
I'm a
drinking or the fact that I was an alcoholic for so long, but damn was I proud of the way I could drink and still be alive.
They're like, damn, Navi, you can put it away. You're like, yes, I can. I'm not gonna remember any of this night. Well, but okay, but that's just I'm sorry to hear that all this came at a head when you're 21, when
Perfect.
this should have been your drinking journey. But now this is like to the point where you're like, man, maybe I have a problem, or I mean, I guess did you come to that conclusion yet, or I guess what happened
It was
once?
suggested, and I was open
Okay.
to it, but also still like meh. And all I knew about AA was that you make amends at some point. So I get introduced to this network marketing company. I get introduced to personal development, Jim Rohn, building your network marketing business, where he, with
Mm.
the program, drops names like Anthony Robbins and Mark Victor Hansen and who's the dude, Chicken Soup for the Soul, Jack Canfield.
Oh,
So all
okay,
these
cool.
names, okay, introduced me to like other people in the personal development realm. My upline, who became one of my best friends, had Tony Robbins get the edge. Sorry, Tony. My buddy lent me that that program, and I am living at home, and I'm trying to make my life better, learning about consciousness and how we have the ability to direct and become literally anything that we ever want to become physically in an environment that is all about support, that has a system to build people up from the briefing presentations to the trainings. It was a revival at every single event. Like they mastered
Mm.
that. The music, the energy, like it just felt so good to the point where you could be going there and not be making any money with the company, but still feel good because you were part of a community and you felt like you were growing and learning. Like I'm sure that there's still people in that company after changing owners and names that have been going for over 30 years that aren't making that much money with the company because to them,
Mm.
that's their family. And
Yeah.
I was at an age where I needed that.
Okay. keep going,
taking a
because
breather.
like I like where I like where you're going,
Yeah.
and like this is just
So
man, dude, you complex being. I fucking love you, dude.
thank you.
Like,
I love you too. So the obsessive personality in me can be traced back to how much I loved Eminem. Briefly going back to eighth grade, I created a booklet of some unreleased Eminem lyrics, like "Bad
okay.
Meets Evil," or not "Bad Meets Evil," "Bad Influence" from the movie End of Days.
Hmm.
Just tons of really like even darker stuff that weren't on his LPs. And I got suspended for creating this beautiful artwork that had all these heinous and hateful lyrics. And my mom went to fight for me. She like literally was like, "What's wrong with this?" Like she's been a warrior from the get-go when it mattered the most to her, which is protecting her children, which is just
Hmm.
beautiful. I like to brag about her because
Shout out Navi's mom.
going back to the
This episode.
story where I got Tony Robbins, I got to share that with my mom. I started my personal development journey with my mom, and I leaped out of being a son, just a son, and seeing my mom and dad, my aunt and uncle as them into their human beings. They're people that have lived lives, stories that I have no clue about. Like I was really into psychedelics, so I would like try to probe
Okay.
them. Like, hey, you lived through the '60s in a different country. Like, did you ever try this or this or that? Okay. So that company that I was with in those events really like started my spiritual journey because in the personal development, it led me down this path of integrity where I had to
Hmm.
learn everything I could from Tony Robbins and Jim Rohns and John C. Maxwell and Zig Ziglar and all these Christian based speakers
Yeah.
to where that obsessive personality, like, was the drinking. Like, let me do a lot of it because I didn't do as much as I wanted to in high school, college, couple
Mm.
years. Let's do some more. Let's keep drinking. Obsessive personality. I get introduced to this company. I don't drink for 88 days, and I just pour personal development and live events into my life. My version of 90 meetings in 90 days at that point.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Which that's dude, that's to go from like probably not a day of sobriety to 80 straight days. I mean, do you remember how old you were at the
that
time?
was 21.
Okay. Brain blast. All right.
Yeah.
Uh to keep okay. So you're on fire. You're doing this, and at such a freaking young age, my guy.
I
I mean,
I sound different. I look different. I seem taller because of who I'm around, what I'm listening to, and what I'm doing every day in my daily life. And I was
mm,
part of a team called Team Freedom. What a team. And it had about 16,
freedom.
20 something six-figure income earners. And it was led by this old Navy guy. Honor, courage, commitment was the thing of the team. And also,
Hmm.
they also did trainings where they broke down movies like The Matrix or The Peaceful Warrior in the way that I like to explain the whole Marvel universe and how it relates to you, to any one of us.
Which, if you guys like Marvel stuff, it just you're gonna really enjoy that conversation when we get there. But keep going, my guy.
So Team Freedom has a event in Palm Springs every year, and it is a big blowout, lots of training. And I went and I recruited my best friend who was living in Kansas into the company, and he came to the event. And I noticed that all these six-figure income earners prior to the event were drinking, partying,
Mm,
still being successful. So a good follower does what a good follower does. It's a special occasion, so
mm.
I bought us a bottle of Cavassier. I don't know why. It's fancier than Hennessy. Don't know why I would go with cognac. But at the time, that was the party drink that I wanted to go with. And have an amazing time. Life is on another level, man. Like, does not compare to what I experienced in Hollywood. Like, it's tons of partying, but lots of love and respect to a certain
Which
degree
is
because
where really confusing. Like, I mean, it's amazing. It's just like it's too much of a good thing. It's like
yeah. Pictures from that event are fun to go back and look at. But what happened next is that I then take everything that I learned, go back home, and continue my personal development journey, but with a twist. I don't recommend this to anybody. What I did was every night I would drink about half a bottle of whiskey or vodka or whatever I was into. But I would listen to these positive music that I had put on playlists, inspiring music, mixed in with personal development. Because at this point, I had one of the largest collections of personal development, and that was still when I was 21. So I would have
This is crazy.
Wayne Dyer,
This is all happening right here.
Wayne Dyer, who
Okay.
introduced me to the spirituality of life. Maybe it wasn't just him, but that was like really what took me to another level of spirituality. Jim Rohn, Anthony Robbins, like all this stuff would play on shuffle. And I would take notes at night while drinking. So I was rewiring my brain with the toxic chemical that made me feel good. So I was just an alcoholic. I didn't do this on purpose. But I've developed this trait where if I'm going to do anything negative, I'm going to outweigh it with the positive. So back then it was superfoods. I started learning, getting into health. Like, how can I regenerate my body? How can I regenerate my neurons, my brain cells? Neurogenesis. So I'm drinking, I'm coming up with these crazy ideas and like feeling good about it and learning. And through that learning, neurogenesis is being created. Therefore, I was building while I was tearing apart. It's a Wolverine concept that I later came to understand. In
I love it.
Days of Future Past, Wolverine is the only person that can travel through time. Because what, at the time, Ellen Page's character, Kitty Pryde, said is, I need someone who heals faster than they get torn apart. Who can do that? Logan. Wolverine. So like that concept I've adopted to literally my way of being. Like whether it's emotional, psychological, physical, like excruciating, there's a part of me that is regenerating faster than it was torn apart. So yeah, that happened. Personal development and alcohol. And then I had this trait of wherever I visited or traveled, like that first couple nights, I had to drink. I had to drink big. Blackouts would still happen, but things weren't as chaotic as they used to
But now
be.
it's like it's strangely positive now. It's like, yeah, he blocked out and gave $5,000 to charity. Like I don't know what to do with that one.
Yeah, not there yet because I was just around really good people, which I'm super grateful for.
Yeah.
So on that journey, I eventually moved to Santa Barbara. Wait,
Okay.
no. Okay, let's go. Okay. I'm in Santa Cruz for 2 years in
Yeah.
this network marketing company. I am growing, I am learning, I am a different person. And then it's time for me to go back to LA. That was 2011. And
Okay.
I go back to LA.
Tell me your thoughts. Like, what did you think about this, or like, what was
It
it
was exciting because
like?
everything, a lot of my life, the pattern is that like I'm always on deck for the next thing. Even now, Sacramento since 2020 has been a a stop on our way to the next destination.
Sac's a good spot. I feel like you can make it in Sac. You'll do pretty good.
Sure.
Like, but continue.
So, I was excited. I was going back to, and I was a completely different person. And I was still connected to the business down there. And that was a fucking even crazier scene. Like the level of corruption that I got to see early on really
Yeah,
sucked.
cause okay, interesting. I know this is like an off-topic thing, but it just makes me think like, so was Hollywood always just corrupt? Was it just always a place of evil?
No,
Like, no?
no, no.
That makes me think, when did it start?
Does it matter?
And
I think that the dark and the light have always been playing hand in hand in every single arena and realm.
yeah, and I think just some places are more concentrated than the others. It's just,
Hollywood was created to be an advertisement.
yeah, that makes
Sitcoms
sense.
were
That
created by
tracks.
smoking companies so that they could promote their product. Like that literally is in Hollywood history. That's how we got to have programming. And
Fascinating. It just makes you think like, go, keep going, sorry.
who who's been backing all this? Government. The education system didn't exist at some point. I just saw a meme that said Henry Ford so many times ago on this day decided that I have it right here. September 25th,
Okay.
1926, Henry Ford, a producer of cars, announces the 8-hour, 5-day work week.
That bastard. That piece of shit. Full
The
circle.
education system was created to build workers. That is a known fact. And here we are in a world where we don't have the same type of jobs. Back then, it was whoever had the money, and they created what we have now. Like they literally put all these systems in place
Mm.
and in play.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now, like Diddy or Epstein or who's the Job of the Hut guy? Miramax.
Epstein. Oh, that Weinstein.
Yeah,
It's all the Stein.
right. These are little players of the people that actually hold the power. But at least some of them are getting knocked out of the park so that we can clean up. Like I'm saying, like something is happening collectively where the world is being cleaned up of the bad people. Bad people are still going to exist, but it's going to open up places. We need leaders with a cause and a mission. We need healers that aren't afraid to step up because a lot of people's realities are going to crumble. And when that happens, we need safety nets, or those people whose realities are crumbling will end up in a much worse position than currently in the state of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. It does make me think though, like for the very same reasons of what you're saying, like who are the big people behind the power, the people really pulling the strings. It makes me think like I don't know, just how because like with Epstein, Diddy, yeah, they're getting caught right now and people are getting cleaned up, but like you said, there's always gonna be evil. And I just can imagine if I'm so damn evil, I'm gonna do everything I can to avoid the light. And it just makes me think like how deep does this thing go? How big is this thing really? It's scary things. It's freaking scary, sobering things to think about. But ugh.
What I can tell you is there's more than enough evidence to know that the light has had workers on the ground for a very, very long time. That's why some of the stuff intended for evil actually ends up benefiting us most of the time. Because in hacking technology, you have black hats, which are bad hackers, and white hats. They're the hackers that help protect the system. And I know for a fact, because I've been around for a couple centuries and I've met enough people in this lifetime to know that they're like the light has infiltrated. The dark ruled supreme for a long time, but the light infiltrated as it does. And it took, if I may be so bold, Christ's power to be able to do that. Christ consciousness was released when many of us were born. The second coming of Christ isn't a man floating on a cloud. It could be for show, but what's the point? The second coming of Christ after he was sacrificed on the cross is let's put Christ and all these people that are going to be born in this decade and this decade and this decade. Because 2020, the 2020s, that's going to be crazy.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
2000s, like there's still going to be a lot of illusion and delusion. But we need to breed these individuals in certain ways, and soul contracts may have given us trauma that we needed in order to persevere and be able to help people that are going to need the help. But we're here, man. Like we're light workers, we're way showers, not out of arrogance, but because we've been through hell. We didn't stay there.
Amen.
I'm spiritual not because I'm afraid to go to hell. I'm spiritual because I've been through it. And God is more than just one word. There's over 600 names in the Bible for God. Therefore,
Mm-hmm.
there's no way somebody can tell me that saying a certain word for God is not God. Love, God, freedom, synonymous.
So that's okay because it makes you think about because you were still in the freedom program, right?
Uh, I mean, I would have
At this
never
point.
called it the freedom program,
Oh, sorry. I
but I
well.
definitely see it as that now as you say it. I was immersed in this success culture that was led by a guy that was in the Navy at some point that carried those philosophies and gave us all of that. And I had a beautiful experience in that company. Big event in Los Angeles, Las Vegas, and something weird's happening. Like something's happening. The
Okay.
breakout. Um, One of the leaders comes out and he says, "This gentleman is no longer with the company." The guy that was spearheading Team Freedom and like was next in line for this or that.
Well, okay.
So he just
That's
left a
scary.
ton of people for another company. And then a ton of those leaders went for it to another company. And it showed me a lot about idealizing people, which over the years, like in college, I already like considered other actors and performers like Eminem a colleague. Not, I'm
Yeah.
not your fan, I'm your colleague. But this environment of people with success, people that showed this image of family being a priority in their lives, this image of God as a priority in their life. Then doing these things that seemed like they didn't line up. I kind of let go of, like, I'm sure it had an effect on me. Like, that was my fucking leader, you know?
I
Like,
mean, especially like the man you put, I mean, so much effort and probably spoke fire in your soul. You're like, I can do anything, and now he's gone.
mhm,
And it's like, well, what do I do here?
right?
What happens now?
So I believe I slowly started to leave the company, and I was
Do
way.
you know how old you were at the time? I'm just trying to like timestamp this.
So I turned 25 in 2012, so I would have been 24.
Jeez, man, that's like,
Compressing time
and
frames, my man.
well, you know what? And before you go, like you, all the stuff you're talking about, like the light makers, the way makers, the freedom, like the freedom fighters, like that's you're right. And that's kind of it's like a pendulum, you know? It's like things balance themselves out because all of the darkness in the world, it is so refreshing to see bad people getting taken down. To see that actually there is a want and a need for light workers out there. And we need to put actionable, like kind, loving people in positions of power and be ready to kind of do the hard work. And I don't know. I need to be positive. I need to be more like what's the word?
Assertive of the future that you actually desire.
Yeah, I need that. But I'm also a pessimist, and I think I don't know. I'm also kind of learned that more than anything, I've kind of like let go of control. It makes me think like, can we? Not to be depressing or downplay the mood, but like it's that is something that I do think about. Is like, is this attainable?
As a man of faith, I am 100% confident that anything is possible because that statement alone is ridiculous. Anything is possible. Literally, miracles happen all the time. Weird shit happens all the time. So, as a man of faith, I know that it is possible for things to change. And as a pessimist, I am a great auditor. I want to find the holes in the boat before it becomes a problem so I can
Mm.
utilize my pessimism and pour my optimism into my faith because I would go insane, man. I tried to commit suicide like 7 times before I was 20 years old, and I failed every time. That's pessimistic.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's one way of saying it. Holy shit. Okay, all right. And you still kept going,
Oh, yeah.
and you still kept going. Hell yeah. Well, that says something. That says a whole lot about your character. And you know what? I'm interrupting you a lot,
Doesn't
and
feel
thanks for
like
just
I
kind of
have a
vibing with
choice,
me.
Tristan. Like, you're like, oh, you kept going. It's like, no, I tried to die. I kept coming back. Like, it's funny. Like, I am very humorous and I speak about it this way because it has to be. Like, there's no room for me to have these moments of depression when they're not warranted in the life that I'm literally living right now. Like, I'm talking about something that happened to a younger version of me who I love and I've done a lot of work with. And I'm so grateful that I am alive. And I'm alive. So that's cool. You know, despite every effort through drinking, because that was slow suicide
Hmm.
until I was 31 years old. Um, that kept on going. Like I didn't stop to try killing myself. I just did it by a different means.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah, dude.
Did that? Did those thoughts come? Did they come back after your guy left, your leader left?
Not at all. No. I was on my spiritual journey, and that's really the big reason why I left that company. By the end of
Mm.
it, I was recruiting more people because I was saying like, hey, there's also Beachbody, which had P90X and all those workout programs. There's fitness
Yeah.
companies, there's juice companies, there's vitamin companies, there's clothing, there's tons of other network marketing companies. This one may not be for you, but I
Mm.
encourage you to look into one because the education and the community you will experience is like none other. Like with that and over 10 years of personal development on a heavy dose, I have a friend that constantly reminds me that we have more than 10 PhDs. We just don't have the physical paper.
That's what's up. I like that. LA. Was the conference in LA or was the business in LA when you got into the marketing?
It was all over, was leading the national expansion, as we used to say. And
Leading the
so I
national
got to start up north, Sunnyvale, Bay Area. I was there for 2 years and then moved to LA to continue pursuing my dreams after a 2 year pit stop as this like elevated, educated, well spoken, handsome gentleman that had developed a few new superpowers of
damn
communication
straight you did.
and charisma.
Okay.
So yeah, I went down there and the business was what it was, and then ended up leaving. The conference was in Las Vegas. Then went back to LA, and slowly by 2011, I was consciousness deep in Wayne Dyer and Neil Donald Walsh, who wrote Conversations with God. Those two
Okay.
authors expanded my mind beyond religion into something that I felt really harnessed what God truly is. More than that, in 2010, that buddy of mine that I met on that conference call that first
Yeah.
time, we'd become really good friends, and he bought six of his buddies this giant book called the Prosperity Bible. And it has
Hmm.
21 books. It's called the Prosperity Bible because it's a collection of books. And Bible, that's what it means. And it starts with Think and Grow Rich, the 1936 edition, the original edition that Napoleon Hill wrote. Then it goes into As a Man Thinketh and A Letter from Garcia and The Science of Getting Rich, The Game of Life and How to Play It. And these were very like Christian based writings. Like they were pulling from the Bible. And that really like gave me scripture in ways that I had only begun to understand through the words of John C. Maxwell or Zig Ziglar. Because they would always use the parables. They would always talk about Jesus and the work that he did. He's a fisher of
Right.
men. Oh, cool. I can do that. So in that spiritual journey, like nothing in that business actually lit me up anymore. Like I said, I was telling
Hmm.
people, go check out other companies. Like this is great. I liked it, but really do something for yourself and find what community you can build or be a part of that allows you to grow and expand.
Right.
And at that point, 2012, end of the world was coming. I had to surrender to the
2012.
signs, to the angels, to the ascended masters, to this new age I happened to stumble upon in Santa Monica. And my buddy,
Okay.
again, who gave me the Prosperity Bible, who introduced me to the company, um, he had just gotten back from his Saturn return in Thailand, sold all his stuff because his world crumbled in a very 3D way. And then he goes to Thailand and comes back, and he's like just this very spiritual guy now, like super spiritual, and is in the flow and energy, and ends up going back to Santa Barbara. And the weekend of Coachella 2012, the woman that I was living with was out of town because she was with her friend at Coachella. So
Okay.
I had this freedom to go down to Santa Barbara for a day and kind of be like, what's this place about? And the real cool part is that I actually have a deeper connection to Santa Barbara than 2012. Me and my buddy DJ, who
Hmm.
lives in Kansas or lived in Kansas, who's also an actor, he and I would go to Santa Barbara during our college years and shoot random stuff, like some of my favorite, like old school, silly skits slash mini movies, like just being super silly and dumb.
That sounds amazing.
So that's cool. Like I already had this like deep connection for some reason. And in 2012, I go down there and my buddy's with his new girlfriend, and they're pulling these goddess cards. And I've never done anything like this. They're oracle cards, not tarot. Basically,
Okay.
have a question in mind, then you pull something. And I pulled one and it said golden opportunity. And in that moment, I was like, okay, I think this is the sign I needed. I'm going to find a way to
I'm
move to
listening.
Santa Barbara. And I did. I was working at Goodwill, being groomed to be a manager. I decided that I'm leaving this job. I'm moving to Santa Barbara on May 6th, 2012, and didn't
Okay.
do anything except become a vegan in that month, just for that month. And then the night
All right.
before moving to Santa Barbara, and I do this, I'm doing the quotes and moving because I didn't do any research. I didn't look for a place. I just had this
Mm.
idea, like, I'm going to move to Santa Barbara, which I find really hard to recommend at this age of
I
my
mean,
life.
yeah, but at the same time, I mean, like, because that's how we got to Portland, and I think sometimes you gotta be kind of crazy and reckless.
Yeah,
You gotta be like, fuck it, I'm going to a place I have no idea. Don't do it. Definitely don't do
as
it.
a responsible adult, it feels weird to say. Um,
Oh my God, absolutely.
so so the night before, we get these Pizza Huts, double cheese, double sauce. After being a vegan for a month, and totally
Oh
get
my God, you
sick,
poor
and
man.
me and my lady friend,
Not the
we were
pizza.
drinking lots
Yeah.
of wine. That was our thing, and eating this pizza. We were like bad influences on each other.
Okay.
She's like, "I'll drive you to Santa Barbara." And that morning, we wake up, look on Craigslist, and see if there's anything like for a room. There is. I make the call. Like, all right, we're driving down there today, and they don't know that like I'm literally planning to move in that day. Grab all my stuff into her little car, drive down there. They meet me,
That's
and then
hilarious.
they meet her, and then they're like, yeah, yeah, I think you're a good fit. And I move into this tiny ass room in Santa Barbara, and I stay there for maybe 2 months before I start hanging out more with my friends that live more in town. And then
Mhm.
I leave that spot, and then me and my friends are forced to leave that spot because we're these spiritual, ungrounded people that are like full of magic, but no actual financial grounding or any ideas on like. So that was a whole wild adventure. My mom came to visit that year, and she told me that she was having a surgery, and it was a big
Oh,
one. So
okay.
I make the choice out of necessity, really. Like, oh, let me go back home and be there for her. At that time, home was Salinas because she had moved. And then it was San Jose for her recovery because that's where my sister lived. So I spent a lot of
Mm.
time with her during her healing and reading books to her. Yeah, it kept me on my journey. That then, as an actor, like always wanting to do more. Like I found little projects in Salinas and Half Moon Bay and Pebble Beach. I got into modeling, like people that would photographers that like wanted to build a portfolio, a little
Okay.
exchange portfolio for portfolio. So I started to do a lot of that, and then I was introduced to figure art modeling in Monterey.
What's that?
That is that class where people stare at you naked for 3 hours and get paid for it.
And you were a naked model.
Yes. And that
Nice.
was quite a journey as well. Like the psychology that went behind who I was at the time is actually something I feel very called to write about. There's a part of me, it's like, why do I want to tell this story? Because I get recalls sometimes. I'm like, wait, that happened? Ew. And that was just like 3 months of solid work as a nude art model. It,
That did it pay well, or did it like it
it
paid?
paid. Sometimes it was $50 an hour. Sometimes it was a little bit more. Sometimes you get
Okay.
asked to do certain things and you have to wonder, is this what I desire to do and get paid for? And I'll tell you
Yeah, okay.
this insight. Um,
All right.
I've made a few promises in my life that I've kept that I remember. One of them, my
Okay.
mom said, do not ever sell drugs. So I
Okay.
never sold drugs. In college, I was told, never do porn. So I never did
Okay.
porn. And where where did this promise conversation come from?
Nude art modeling
Right.
or like
Tell me more. It's a little late in the day, but I still got it.
no. I still got it.
So the nude art modeling and the promises that I make.
Yes.
So that like don't do porn is very close with nude modeling, but it was very different because
Mm.
I was not doing porn and
But you were naked. You were vulnerable in front of a camera,
no
and
camera.
oh, I mean, well, sorry, yeah, no camera, just people drawing you.
Yeah.
But okay, it just and also like, yeah, dude, you should write about it because like the more I'm thinking about it, is like there is so much psychology behind it. Just as far as like, I, I mean, I, I don't know, it's like this weird. I don't know.
It's important.
It's imagining me drawing your penis, and that's a that's a big thing. That's a well. I mean, hey, you see what I did there? Anyways, made promises you never do. You're a nude art model, which I think is crazy, but keep going.
So the reflections of it, because it was only for 3 months, because after 3 months it got really weird and my
Interesting.
boundaries kept being tested. And I was
Mm,
spending that money on booze, but I was sober when I was in action as a model.
interesting.
It's like I'm gonna be sober, like I'm doing a job. So I had that standard. Um,
Okay.
and when it got to the point, because I was introduced to other classes and
Right.
other unofficial classes that paid well, that would ask me to do things they weren't allowed to ask me in a formal setting, which
Ooh.
was fine to the point where it wasn't fine.
Yeah. No, I understand. I understand exactly what you mean. And that's well, thank goodness you didn't have to cross any lines or boundaries you didn't want to cross. Because I mean, especially with what we're talking about with Hollywood and the Nickelodeon documentary. I mean, like, it could have gone so much in a wrong way. And you were probably what, barely in your like maybe late 20s
Yeah,
or
26, 27, or 28, something like that.
okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. Still young-ish. Not as young as we talking about early 20s, but still
Mhm.
okay. So you did this and eventually got too weird. Probably got a little too Weinsteiny. Didn't cross those lines, but you were scared they're gonna get there, and you stopped doing it.
Yeah. And then
What happened after that?
it's around 2015. So that was my Saturn return. And I keep mentioning that astrologically, the Saturn return is when everything is the same astrologically as it was when you were born. It usually happens between the age of 28 and 30. And the big
Okay.
question that you're being asked at this phase of your life is, do you want to grow up or do you want to continue struggling like a kid?
Hmm.
I was
Interesting.
aware of that, but I think I still went on a tumultuous journey, which I don't regret, like any of it. I was in an on and off again abusive relationship, but I didn't see it like that at the time for 2 years. And I
This is the same girl that helped you move to
different girl,
Santa Barbara?
different girl.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, fucking
So
A.
in 2016, I get called back to Santa Barbara through these wine festivals that we used to host or help. I helped build up a nonprofit called the Santa Barbara Hustlers for Humanity. And what we did was go into other nonprofits and provide volunteers. We would find ways that we
Mm,
can better the world. One hustler is the equivalent of three average human beings. That was our motto. Put
okay.
on this Awakened Film Festival where Michael Bernard Beckwith was one of the people showing these movies that about consciousness, about the heart, about the food issues in America, and money and the way stuff really works. Like we were a part of this festival, and my energy was just growing. Me and Thayer started up a podcast called the Brain Sex Podcast because we had done so much work on the divine masculine and understood, we're told that we understood the sacred feminine so well that they wanted us, two men, to talk about this stuff that most men weren't getting. So that
Mm,
was external validation of the spiritual journey that we'd been on. And a request to like, hey, we need more of this. That's I believe that that's when it started happening. The call from complete strangers, not just to do brain sex, but to do the thing. Something I said made people think we need more of that. So maybe I got a little ego driven. I don't know. Maybe. But at some point, I realized that if they're saying this to me about me, other people need to start hearing it about them.
Okay.
I shifted into this permission slip giver.
What do you mean?
There's an aspect of reality that's called conformity, where you're told how things are, so you believe it and you keep on doing it without questioning it. I believe in a
Okay.
world where more blessings are happening to everybody more and more. I believe in a world where romance is literally in the air just because. I believe in a world where magic is real. By saying it, by moving a certain way, by having a type of character I'm committed to, I make it normal. There was a point where I scared people off. I was very ungrounded and I was a freaking weirdo. Now I'm a freaking weirdo that's very grounded, that has established himself on this earth realm to a degree that is respectable to them. Therefore, my craziness is not so crazy anymore. I'm almost 6 years sober without alcohol, and I am a stepfather to 2 teenagers. I am a husband. There is a point on my journey where none of that was available to me because of the person that I was not yet.
But then you became.
And I was still doing personal development and praying and being connected to God, but I was still on my side journeys.
Right.
And it was.
You didn't have your main one.
Yeah.
Your main change.
Yeah. And in that realm, I wanted to find a way to get back to Santa Barbara permanently. And a friend just recommended this position that they happened to hear because they were volunteering with the hustlers at this one house. This quadriplegic was looking for a new caregiver. I had never been a caregiver. I'd been an alcoholic and an actor and highly versed in great books. But I went in for an interview and they asked, have you ever been in the military? Because my posture, and I had a shaved head at the time, more than this. I've gotten that throughout my life, like asking. I was in college trained by Marines and had to do dance tests where we literally had to stand for 6 hours without moving until it was your turn. So I had that posture training when I was younger. So I go to this interview, I get the job on the spot, and agree for me to move in 2 weeks after that interview. And I was a caregiver to that man for 5 years. A lot of stuff happened in between. I mean, it is a beautiful, beautiful story that I'm very grateful I experienced. That in itself needs to be its own novel.
It reminds me of I think there's a story where it's this quadriplegic again. It's I think it's Bryan Cranston and Kevin Hart. I think that's actually based on a British story, but that's okay. Man, dude, I had no freaking idea about all that. Like, bro, like, yeah, you're gonna have to come back and tell that story. Like, that's happening.
That's where I got my
You don't have to get
medical
into it now,
training.
but
Like literally how to save a life for 5 years straight because you live in that house. You learn a lot of things from visiting nurses and RNs and hospitals and all that stuff. And yeah, very interesting stuff as well. Anyway,
just amazing. But yeah, sorry, but
so I got sober in that place too. Like that was a place where I had to grow up. I was still drinking and partying, not crazy partying, social partying that was normal, but then I would go home and need to continue drinking by myself, like for nights on end. Just like I need to have that routine. I need to have my bottle. I need to go buy the $5 bottle so that I can do this for a couple weeks in a row. Then I would stop drinking and I experience what I didn't know at the time were detox symptoms. And it wasn't until I almost stopped drinking that I realized how dangerous they were. The last time that I drank, I was literally at that house and I was about to lose my job, the place where I lived, my girlfriend at the time, and the old classic story, the perfect rock bottom. I just crashed my car into a lamppost. Now I had legal problems. Laddie, the guy that I was taking care of, literally said, like, you need to get it together. We're going to have to ask you to leave. So I told him, as a good person in addiction does, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll go to AA in the morning. And I did. I actually did. I rode my bike 6 miles into Montecito to a meeting that I felt called to. And I stood
Okay.
up and I said, I am an alcoholic. I white knuckled it for 105 days and I didn't get a sponsor. And I don't want to do that again. I'm here because I need help.
Yeah.
And people were always surprised at how eloquent I spoke based on how much I
Mm.
was drinking. In 10 days, I cleaned up more than 14 bottles of empty whiskey. 10 days. How am I alive and how was I able to speak so clearly? It was the least amount of detox I ever experienced. It was the last time that I drank. May 20th, 2018. What up, baby? It's a brand new world, starting all over
Mm-hmm.
again. And luckily,
Your your baptism, your rebirth, but buddy, you're a new you,
yeah,
new creation.
I tried to burn bridges, but they just wouldn't burn, which I'm grateful for. Even my ex from that time, where like she used alcohol to end that relationship, we still had a harmonious relationship. Ended up getting back together, and then I was sober, and I was like, "Yeah, this just isn't going to work. I'm not going to go back to the bottle like the pattern was, but this I'm not even mad. It's just we're done." And that was Thanksgiving 2018.
Wow.
And yeah, I was on this journey to just focus on me and what I wanted to do with my life. I got introduced earlier that year to a men's team, and the men's team was always preaching this event that you can only do once, and it's called the Men's Weekend. That was another level. I went to that weekend. I came back and had a hustlers potluck at my friend's place, community
Mm.
event, and somebody brought my future wife to the party, and I'm like filled with this energy of like aliveness and totally like the big gap for me when it came to drinking and having the vision of being a father and husband one day, because I always had that since
Sure.
2010. Like I wrote the most compelling vision statements. The thing that I didn't have was the action. I was not behaving like a man that is married with kids. I was
Yeah.
behaving like a single dude that still wanted to party and get laid. Love was always my driver, but sex was right behind that.
Mm.
So between AA, between the men's weekend and the men's team, I realized that there was something within me that was kind of birthed in 2017, but like as an idea and a thought. And that was
Right.
the Leading Man Initiative, because I had all this backing of personal development and the training of what it means to be a leading man, a compelling actor. So I wanted to find a way to merge that. At the same time, in 2012, Avengers came out. And that movie showed me what was going on the planet. Because I was traveling, I was meeting other superheroes, and
Mm.
but they were over there. But every now and then, we would be able to get together and have a crossover and have this big Avengers level event. So I started to see life through this lens and realized that the character development and the reason why these stories were so good when they started to
Mm-hmm.
unravel, it's like we were being shown not the hero, we were being shown the person. We're watching Tony
Mm.
Stark's journey, not Iron Man's journey. We're watching Peter Parker more than we're watching Spider Man. Like all of this just connected and it made sense to me. So from Avengers, I became this avid fan to investigate what happens next. And then it wasn't until
Mm.
2016 where Captain America Civil War comes out. And
Right.
something happened that I never thought, and tons of other nerds never thought would happen, because Spider Man was owned by Sony, not Disney. A deal happened. Holy crap. Like that was never going to happen. And now that happened. And it gave me more of that, like, okay, anything still is possible. It was evidence that even though this very 3D business thing around properties and intellectual properties, like
Right.
like it applies to us. So something else happened later on, which is Fox Studios was sold to Disney as well. So these other properties like the X-Men would never get to see
Got X-Men, baby.
with these guys. Now we actually do freaking this year get to see Wolverine suit back up again and hang out with Deadpool and who knows how many other cameos.
Deadpool 3, baby. That'll be fun. I hope they that's gonna be well, I just hope they find the sweet spot. I hope they don't try too hard and they do it the exact right way. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
That's not my job to actually put out there, because people talk shit about the Marvels. And I know that the actors and the writers and the producers pour their fucking heart into it. This isn't DC where somebody pours their heart into it and then it gets chopped up. Because Warner Brothers, no, they have a lot of strict rules, but the vision is what not just the superhero, the vision of where this is going. Like Kevin Feige drew it out 20 years in the future, man. Like how many phases is that? And with the world changing of Disney Plus and like being able to add shows and add interconnectedness to that, like that changed how the unfolding would come out. It also changed the way the stories would be told. We also have a universe where it's going to continue to change and evolve. So bitching and complaining about this fictional story thing, like the way critics just rail on every single Marvel movie, like is insane to me. Like I don't understand what they actually watched, because they miss the heart and they miss the soul because they're not looking for it. They want to be disappointed.
Well, I mean, forgive me. I think you're half right, because I do agree, especially with the toxic behavior of people. I mean, like I said, I was like, I'm a nihilist, or not a nihilist. I'm a pessimist. Most of the people are. It's the world's not sunshine and rainbows. It's civil war, except like we're all going to jail. You know, it's. I feel like I don't know. You're right. They did miss the heart, but I also do feel like sometimes Disney really, like, I'm not seeing heart and quality in this product. I'm seeing a profit. I'm seeing I want to make something that's bland and generic and it's going to be good for nobody. And it's hard, especially when we had Endgame. Like Endgame was literally, I don't know if we'll ever get an event as good as Endgame because of the setup, because of just the story, the time that it was able to cook and become. And I'm not trying to put on a pedestal. I'm just more saying that, like, I guess it's hard to, I mean, it's hard to jump that shark, but maybe that's also the point. You're not supposed to jump the shark. You're supposed to enjoy it for what it is. And maybe that's my problem. Or I mean, that's everyone else's problem. They're not enjoying whatever Marvel's putting out for what it is.
Marvel may be on the side of the light because of the type of content and the way that they tell their stories. But we're still in a society that programs us to jerk off, to wait for that end game where Captain America picks up Mjolnir. Sorry, spoilers if you haven't seen Endgame. Where have you been,
bruh? Like you missed out this point, man. Like you're on the wrong cast, dude.
Like commercials, advertisements, literally everything is built to make you edge emotionally, psychologically, and physically. So those people are literally falling into this category where you have been programmed. You're done. And it is my responsibility and duty to speak the way that I do, because nothing is going to come into my reality if it brings me zero value. I have this need to find the good in the shit. And I'm not saying those those movies are shit. Like Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, not the best, but it's still thoroughly enjoyable. And I can look through there and be like, okay, yeah, definitely not 100% or 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, but it was actually good. If you're paying attention or following the story in a certain way, you don't just watch the movie. You just don't look for the climax where you literally have to wait for this stuff to be built, when at the end of the day, they're just going to be chapters that are going to play a pivotal role. Think of all the people that now love Age of Ultron that hated it when it came out.
Which I don't. Okay, I'll be with you there. I don't know who the fuck hated that. I loved it. I'm so good. I don't know. Myself was a big fan.
Yeah,
I liked it.
and it's funny because I was actually like, it was good, but I watched Pitch Perfect 2 or 3 at the same time, like that same like, and I actually enjoyed that Pitch Perfect movie better than Age of Ultron. I was like, that's a better superhero movie.
Oh my god!
It's okay to say now because Joss has also fallen off his pedestal.
Whedon, about the big weeds.
Yeah, like the rapey freaking scenes that he also did the Justice League, and then the language that he chose is very rapey. Like when they're trying to lift Thor's hammer at the
Mhm.
party, which is one of my favorite scenes.
Right.
Tony says, "If I pull this off, I'm reinstating prima nocta," which is Latin for when kings were able to sleep with the bride before the husband.
What the? F-
Slip it in there, Joss.
uh, I mean, man, because isn't Tony supposed to be a kind of a well? I don't want to think of him as a creepy playboy, but I mean, isn't the whole thing was he just
That was in the first movie, and he overcame his art. Even in the second movie,
that's
he dealt with
true.
his alcoholism, and then he falls in love with Pepper, and he's a solid dude. Everything else that Joss wasn't part of doesn't have that creepy stuff in Tony. Like Tony, like couldn't be that guy anymore, and Kevin Feige knew that. Like we
Mm,
need to deliver a certain type of character, and that's the framework that I take into the work that we do, whether it's on the podcast or on the Leading Man Initiative, which is
mm,
what was birthed out of this need after my drinking, where like I knew I needed to create what I needed the most. So
right.
with the Infinity Saga, that Marvel saga that Phase 1, 2, and 3 covered, where we finally get to Endgame, something in me clicked, and I created something called the Leading Man Initiative, a program called the Integrity Saga, where I
Right.
guide men through getting the 6 integrity stones instead of infinity stones. Just I was able to find parallels between that journey, use that framework, and implement aspects of integrity, aspects of character building. Bring in that education from when I was in the entertainment business and building a character. Because on my personal development journey, the number one thing I know is that we're all self-made. You get to
Amen.
decide who you actually want to show up as. You get to deprogram yourself if you so choose. You literally
But
have
you
to
have to
rip
choose.
everything out if you want something new. And I fucking did that. I am proud of myself. That's something I can say that I can't say at an interview. I unprogrammed and programmed myself.
Which, by the way, people, I will tell you, I got a chance to try the program, and it's lovely. I guess if we're gonna use the Tony Stark kind of metaphor, I went from a dirty
It's
pornographer to a somebody who's willing to snap the glove, take that hit. Yeah, a leading man in itself. Well, I mean, and I don't know. I think especially with because you're taking like the concept of superheroes, the idea of like probably the peak humanity, like besides just being physically strong, but also emotionally strong, willing to make the big sacrifices, willing to do the right thing, you know, like the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or one. Just
I
it.
just learned that was a Trekkie quote. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Not a
yeah,
Trekkie.
no, okay, all right, okay. My mom is. That's the only reason why I know. But yeah, no, it's amazing, and I love that. I don't know. Like you said, for all the people who want to be negative about Marvel, like, oh, it's the same story or this, that, or whatever their stupid ass critique is that it just, I don't know, you just think about modern stories, like modern big fables, though, and that it was our big fable. I mean, what better story to tell than the story of, hey, this is, the fight for humanity.
Mm-hmm.
The, hey, out of million, billion possibilities of endless, like, the things that could happen, we chose the one where we win this thing. I got goosebumps
Mm-hmm.
just talking about that. But just like it's powerful stuff, and I guess I'm appreciative that you're using your marketing skills, which you could use for evil, and you're building better and stronger men. So I thank you, my guy.
That's
Like it's
I feel like that's a huge part of my journey. It's like I have to be able to go into all these realms of education that have been used for dark in order to infuse the light back into it because all this stuff has been used against us. But for some
exactly
reason, superhero shows like I love the Arrowverse on the CW, The Flash, Supergirl, Arrow, DC Legends of Tomorrow. All these shows show so many different types of characters and different combinations. And before you can even contemplate superhero, we're talking about leading men, which is practical. We need more leaders in the world. We get to play with the superhero stuff, but really, this is like you're a leader in every area of your life. Are you actually showing up as that? And for
Mm.
me, these shows like The Flash and Arrow, they were like just ethics and morality classes. And that is so important before getting, and then for me, I like to joke that if I got my superpowers when I was in high school, I probably would be a father of many, biologically. I would have I would have
Okay.
used it for getting laid in high school
Oh, nice,
and
nice.
probably made babies. But that's why I'm grateful that
Super babies.
I'm on my journey. Like I literally had that John C. Maxwell, Jim Rohn integrity training before I really got like the extra enhanced special meta abilities that we all have the ability to have.
Mm. Okay. Well, but I'm just trying to think like what I want to kind of focus more on because we touched a lot of stuff in a very short amount of time. It's about like your leading men program, your love for the Marvel universe. I mean, and Navi, I might edit or cut out though. But I mean, what time is it? Got about 15 minutes. I'm gonna ask you very point just plainly. Do you think you've got your full story out about your program, or like do you think like you've covered enough, or do you want to go more into it? Eventually, we're gonna plug into your social media and say, hey, here's how my people can get a hold of you. But tell me your thoughts.
Um, if we're still recording and you're still using this, I'd like to just share that leading man initiative program, the Integrity Saga, um, evolved into a weekly call after that first round. That weekly call is free for any men on a Zoom call. The date may change as it has in the past, but right now it's every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And this is a sanctuary where men can literally just drop in, take off their mask, connect with other like-minded dudes, talk about weird stuff, but weird stuff that may add benefit to your life. We're not afraid to reflect. We're not afraid to cry if that's what's called for. It's a place where confidentiality reigns supreme so that the healing can happen. Because men need other men in their lives for validation, for reflection, because no other gender can actually experience the same things you experience. It'd be nice when we can have empathy and sympathy, but at the end of the day, you, a man, need other men around you for many different reasons, even biologically. Your hormones begin to change. Just like women need women. So, what I intend to be doing here is creating more communities and opportunities for men to be able to begin to trust other men again, because that's a huge issue in our culture. So,
Tonys need their Steves.
yeah.
Event we Avengers didn't do it alone.
Mm-hmm.
They had a whole team of people though. So I think, and I'll just to kind of even tag on that point, which by the way, damn you. I was legitimately thinking like, no, I'm gonna edit this out though, but I might not now. I just plot twist. We're keeping it in, baby. Just I'm there. I'm in the conversation. I'm not always there, but I do try to go a lot. And just for just a testimonial of the call, it's a place where I can let my hair down, where I can be very vulnerable and just like, I don't know, speak my thoughts into the void. Not even the void in this case, it's more like into the sun, where I feel like I get to radiate and I get to feel, and whatever that means. I cry, I get angry, I get happy, and I'm with a bunch of men I know, like, are cheering with me, or crying with me, or telling me, we got this, man. We got this together. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, I'll post Navi's information at the bottom, his Instagram or his email, just whatever. What is a good way if someone wants to reach out to you and ask more about this call if they were interested in joining this call?
So we do have a Instagram page called the Leading Man Initiative, at the Leading Man Initiative. But the quickest and best way to get a hold of me is to send me a message on my personal Instagram at Inception, like the movie Inception, Saints, like saints that people pray to. Inception Saints.
Inception
Inception
Saints.
Saints. We incept the good
Inception
thoughts into
Saints.
people.
Inception.
So
I love it. Just like bam, the power. Well, all right, everybody. Yeah, that is exactly where you want to get a hold of him. And I mean, hey, if you didn't fall in love with him already, Navi, I appreciate that we were able to have deep conversations. And I think we don't need to necessarily. I want to have more conversations about topical stuff. I want to talk more about the Diddy things. I want to talk more about like the evil in the world. But the best thing about you is that I don't know. You remind me that darkness, that its day is coming up. Things are getting shown to the light, and things are changing. And you give me hope again. Remind me that hey, brother, it's not all so dark and gloomy. You know, there are helpers, there are way makers out there. You just gotta be on the lookout for them, though. So I just, I don't know, guys. If you like the man, you want to know the man, reach out to the brother. He will put light in your life. I can say that because we've had a good amount of conversations. I can say that. But thanks for coming, man. I appreciate it.
for the work that you're doing as well. I mean, something happens when you have enough education in your wheelhouse. And I'm not saying it's cold reading people or reading people's energies or their intentions, but from the get go, I have felt that not just from first presentation, but from the continuous meeting and conversation, you show up better and better every single time. And it's not even like you have to. You just have a level of integrity and a way of communicating through your heart, which is what I believe the world needs more. Leaders leading from the heart. All
Amen.
action from the heart, even anger if it needs to happen, from the heart, out of love, because you care so much about somebody that you're willing to get angry and say, don't do that. You could lose your fucking life. So thank you
Amen.
by sharing these stories. The individuals that you speak with are always an inspiration, and somebody's got to host it. So really appreciate you for that.
We didn't even get to the topic of your damn podcast. Holy shit. My man's got a podcast called uh
Go
oh my god.
the Wake Up and
No,
Smell the Miracles
Wake Up and
podcast.
Smell the Miracles. I was thinking of a cup. I was thinking like, okay, what the okay, I'm so sorry. But yes, Wake Up and Smell the Miracles. Hardcore. Like if you need to pick me up emotionally, check him out. He's on Spotify. I only hope that I can eventually go on there and I can share my wisdom. I can share my peace, my truth on there. But that's gonna be later.
It's going to be
But
soon. I foresee it. I can read the
that's
energy.
that's the right fucking answer. Exactly. That's why I like it. That's why I like. Okay, we got a couple minutes. I'm not getting you out of here just yet. I we're gonna again put your social medias down below in the description. Just trying to think. Do we talk about nerd stuff like Marvel, comic books, that kind of fun stuff?
Just drop in. What's in your heart? What's your highest excitement and what's your burning desire for the last few minutes?
I mean, I'm gonna be a little silly, a little dumb. I got a chance to. Have you seen Shogun yet?
No, but that you're the second person to recommend that.
Dude, it's so good. Like it is. Granted, we think we only watched about maybe two episodes of it so far. It hasn't even finished yet, but it's a great adaptation of a book. But like it feels real and visceral and raw, and you're just like, man, like it's essentially like a political drama set in the 1600s in Japan where a power struggle is about to happen. And we have high level players and you can feel the tensity of everything. And it's just like, I don't know, it's like a punch in your chest. It's like rushing water. And I want to keep watching it. And it's great.
Such a great
And
hype
yeah,
man. I need you on the road with me. Pat me up.
oh, dude, yes, my rates are 20 and I'm just kidding. But yeah, but hey, if you want to book. Yeah, check it out. I that's at least kind of like the last thing I watched that's burning within me.
Nice.
I haven't seen the Marvels yet, but you've been praising it enough that I think I want to check it out. I don't know. I mean, what's the last piece of media I think you've consumed that like it really sparked your soul? Or you're like, this is amazing.
Bro,
This is art.
two things actually. I have to be very selective with what I watch because of my schedule and also sharing the TV with the daughter and the wife and other people.
Yeah, I get it.
So for me right now, it's like I need to go where my soul calls, which is usually
Mhm.
something I've seen before. But the rookie is, their new episodes whenever they're coming out. Like I'm enjoying that. Like it needs to be a ritual. Like the rookie means so much to me. Like it
Okay.
literally breathes life into me for some reason.
Lives, multiple plural
Yes,
lives. It breathes
absolutely.
so many lives in you. I love it.
And then I've been going back with my wife and watching WandaVision. I know
Such a good show.
I'm
Such a
pretty
good
sure we've
show.
seen it twice, but it feels like the first time we're watching it for the second time, and it just
Okay.
hits so different and so much darker, knowing what's
Yeah.
actually going on. And that is just a prime example of the way people experience grief. Like, I love it so much because it's literally talking about very psychological, real world problems like grief and watching Wanda create, like, unknowingly use her chaos magic. Like, we are freaking energetic beings and emotions freaking radiate. Can you
Yeah.
imagine being in so much pain that you create some sort of delusion that you somehow enslave a freaking town?
Exactly. Hijack a oh, spoilers by the way, but
Big
hey,
spoilers,
yeah,
yes.
no, absolutely. And then it's just like her story about like I want to cry just thinking about it. Like how she has to heal and she has to say goodbye to these people she made, to this family she's never
Yeah,
gonna have. Like,
dude, that's heavy.
yeah, you fucking you damn right.
And just got to give Paul Bettany some credit for coming up with the most perfect line for that show. It wasn't in the script. He made it up. What is grief if not love persevering?
Mm, I like that. I like that a lot.
Mm,
Oh, actually, I guess I think I know what we can truly end on. You play Marvel Snap yet? Don't even
no,
answer the
sir.
question. I know you haven't. All right. All right. I will say, do you know I'm getting nothing but ads for Marvel Strike Force? Like,
Weird.
just nothing. Nothing but ads.
That is a great brain trainer. I've been using that app, and I say I've been using it. It hasn't been using
Hmm.
me
Smart.
probably since 2021. Like consistent.
It's been out that long?
Yeah. I don't
Jeez,
know how
okay.
or why, besides the fact that it's Marvel, but I found something and I'm not a gamer, but if it benefits my brain, I'm down. And there's a few
Mm.
games that I use for that. Just it makes me it's like what we talked about earlier. Like I needed to alkalize my body because I was making it super acidic with the alcohol. Like I can eat crappy
That's right.
food, but I need to pour more good into it. I was drinking, but I needed the vitamins, the spirulina, the
I
CBD.
understand.
So
You're playing Marvel Strike Force. You need to play Marvel Snap. That's the good that you need to channel in your body that's going to properly heal you. I understand. I got the medicine for you, bro. I got
I
you.
like the way you did that.
Well, guys, I'm Tristan. This is Navi, and we're playing the hot new mobile game Marvel. No, I'm just
They
kidding.
sponsoring your episode, bro?
Man,
I
I
wish,
wish
right?
I between you and me, before we go, I'm not. We're not doing any more casts. Not even. I don't think I'm gonna get your wife in here unless we're playing a couple matches.
Done.
Granted, I don't think I need to get back into it. I've been not playing it for about a month. It's probably been the better thing, but it's just a fun. Do you even like card games? Do you
No,
like?
but here
Okay,
first. Deal with the Tristan in a white shirt. I will download and play the game with you if it fits on my phone. If it
okay.
guarantees that my wife gets on your show. Just kidding. Just kidding, but I'll
Hey,
definitely
I
do
mean, you know what?
it.
It's and you didn't even have to show me your feet pics. I didn't pull a Dan Schneider on you. So you know what? I think it's a fair trade. It's good. Very
Yeah.
good. Well, guys, this is my friend. No, and dude, you're coming back on here just
You're
because
coming
there's
to
so
wake up
much
and
just to
smell the
talk about.
miracles. I
Well,
need to
all right,
dom
we're
you
gonna
with the
do double.
conversation, my man. I need to get you talking. We need to go down some rabbit holes. And that's what
Oh,
happens on the
dude.
Wake Up and Smell the Miracles. Rabbit holes that lead
I
to
mean,
blessings.
I hope you're ready, because like I haven't even shown you my power level. I haven't like if we're going like WandaVision, like I haven't even realized I had magic, and I'm just like, oh crap, now I'm tapping into it. Now I got that weird
Mm,
chaos book, or dude,
dark
that's
holes.
such a good show.
Yeah.
Such a good show. Oh my, I'm sorry. I know we keep like we're gonna end. Have you heard of the House of M
Yeah.
series? Like, do
Yes.
you think they're ever gonna get a touch? I mean, they kind
They're,
of touched that
it's going to
story
be
in
really
WandaVision,
hard, but anything's possible. Like that is the
right?
story that Wanda wanted, that Elizabeth Olsen wanted to tell. Um, they allude to it, but literally like chapters. Like Game of Thrones, the books are a lot of them, and they're not even done. The show couldn't
Yeah.
tackle all of that, so we're looking at a medium that can't tackle the full story, but they're touching on it, and there's a lot of things that I'm still hoping come back and allow us to experience the Maximoff family. Like Deadpool 3 has access to Magneto and
There you go.
the other Quicksilver. So anything's
Which, by
possible.
the way, that was such a plug right there. Having freaking Evan,
Peters.
what Evan? Have that guy in there. I'm like, I love. Okay,
So,
good
so
job, Jeffrey
that
Dahmer.
can't just be a boner joke. Like I'm telling you, there's gotta be more to the madness. There has to be, and they've fixed their errors in the past. Like they was like come back and they're like, oh, this actually meant this and that. So when they do that, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
But yeah, man, there's so many stories and realms to tackle within the Marvel universe in itself. Like Legion, who's freaking Xavier's son,
yeah. Oh my God,
Omega
it's
level
and
mutants.
to everyone who doesn't kind of know what we're talking about, just very quickly, House of M is very similar to WandaVision. Is that Wanda is insanely powerful, that she makes a alternate universe where a lot of people get their wishes. Uncle Ben comes back. I think Bucky comes back for Captain America, but also Magneto is in charge of the world, and humans, we're not rounded up like cattle, but we're second class citizens. And it's I don't know. Incredible story. We hope we can see it. I don't know. You got a minute left, Navi. What you got? You got anything?
Seek
Or is
seek more than understanding. Seek that
mm,
thing that lights you up, and then try to understand that. Follow
okay.
the curiosities that come to your mind, like House of M or Marvel or DC or 80s wrestlers. Whatever your curiosity is, I promise you there'll be gold at the end of that because you're literally just exuding more joy. And I promise you that there are people out there that want to hear what you have to say from you, not from somebody else on YouTube, not from your friend or your cousin. They need to hear your sound, your vibration, your message. That literally can't be duplicated. Someone can have an impression, make an impression, do an impression, but only you
Right.
are the thing.
Amen. And you know what? I don't think I could have said that better myself. Well, guys, this has truly been Navi. I've been Tristan, and you've heard another ordinary person with an extraordinary story. Thank you, and keep seeking. My man, there we go. Oh wait, hold on. I'm gonna end it, and I'm gonna call you back. Hold on. Thank you for listening to another episode of Ordinary People, Extraordinary Stories. If you're interested in helping the channel, feel free to click on the link below to get access to our Patreon, where we have exclusive episodes and clips not shown to the public. And of course, if you believe you yourself have an interesting story to tell, or know somebody who would be great for the show, feel free to email me back at OPESpodcast@gmail.com. That's OPES. That's the acronym for the show, Ordinary People, Extraordinary Stories, OPES, podcast@gmail.com. Thank you, everybody, and until next time.